This is Wave Watch. Welcome back, guys. We appreciate you guys for joining us again. I know it's been a while since we spoke. A lot of things have developed. Some things we're going to talk about today. It's a big homecoming week, so maybe we'll touch on that a little bit. But there's some other big things that are going on. It's me, Patty V again. We've obviously got the Dave Rainey, and we've got a new face. A lot of you guys may not have seen him, or maybe you have seen him. I know he's around Tulane campus occasionally. Mr. Miles Boudreau. You might see him on Twitter as @MilesBoudreau or Saint. Welcome, man. How we guys doing? How we feeling tonight?
I'm appreciating my existence. God bless.
God bless. Dave, how you doing, man?
God bless. I'm doing great, man. Especially when it comes to college football. Other things, it is what it is. But
it's not a Miami podcast. I just want to shut that down right now.
Whoa. I can't be in a good place with Tulane football.
No, you can. I'm reading the tea leaves because I know one thing you're probably excited about, which we will end up talking about here in a second. But yeah, so a lot of things have happened. Obviously, Tulane coming off some pretty big wins, conference wins, just rolling right along. Roll wave, you know how we do it. But there's been some announcements this week, and this is mainly what this whole podcast may end up being about. I'll be completely honest. The recent AP poll came out. What is it, on Sunday or whatever it was? Tulane was not in it yet. They're still on the fringe getting votes. College football playoff polls, the first run finally came out, and Tulane is also not in the top 25 on those. So that's what I plan to talk about. I just want to get thoughts. Dave, if you have any thoughts, Miles, if you want to throw anything in there, let's just talk about the top 25, maybe the path to the playoff for Tulane, or just any thoughts you have in general about this college football playoff and how it may shake out.
Go ahead, Miles.
I pray that the college football gods lay with, Tulane and just realize how good of a team they are. Their losses were versus some, pretty competitive, top talent, top teams. And they lost in fashions that leave a bad taste in your mouth because you're like, the game shouldn't have ended like that. Or you're just like, okay, they lost, but, we learned a lot of good things. And that was definitely a winnable game. I don't think there's a game that they lost that you're like, they couldn't have won that game versus that very talented team. And it's just it's a team that, their top defense, you see their defensive stats. They're like, I think it's like 8 turnovers, that led to points. And I think that's like one of the highest in, at least their conference from what I'm sorry about that. At least their conference from what I've seen. But, I think Tulane definitely deserves a chance. And I'm really excited to see what the football, college football gods do with Tulane, because they definitely deserve a good looking at when it comes to getting the opportunity to the college football playoffs.
Yeah. I want them to be ranked. I think it would be fair if they were at 24, 25-ish. Right. But also, so like last week when the AP or whatever put Memphis ahead of them, I was kind of like, that was the one that got me. I was like, really? Memphis? Yeah. That one bothered me. But like when you look at the college football playoff, 20 through 25 are Washington State 7-1, Colorado 6-2, Kansas State this is the AP. Kansas State who beat Tulane, Pitt 7-1, Vandy who's 6-3 but has some really good wins, and Louisville who's 6-3 and has some good wins. So it's not like there's anybody in the top 25 that I'm like, Tulane should absolutely be over them. And then as far as like the CFP goes, Army's at 25. They're 8-0 in your conference. So it's like you can't be over them, right? So Tulane, you could make the argument for sure that Tulane should be ranked, but I don't know that we can be throwing fits that they're not, right? Sure. Listen, your 2 losses were against at least one solid opponent. Oklahoma is kind of they're better. They're still a tough opponent as far as Tulane's concerned, but like they don't have any good wins. And at the end of the day, it's you lost 2 games. And I think we said that early on in the year. that you had to win one of the two. Otherwise, you'd be in a tough position, and they're in a tough position now. The path for them is tricky. So Boise is ranked 12 in the college football playoff, and I'm wondering if they're 12 because they're the favorite right now to be the Group of 5 team, and I assume the Group of 5 team will be number 12, or if they're just ranked 12 as, just to be the 12th team. Because if that's the case, is there a path for 2 Group of 5 teams in the playoff? Like if Boise keeps winning, is there a path for Boise to get in and then Tulane to get in as a Group of 5 team? Or did they just Boise's the best Group of 5? That's our Group of 5. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to say that is the conversation, right? I mean, there's 2 paths here for Tulane, kind of what you're alluding to. Obviously, the first path is Boise ends up losing their conference championship and Tulane wins out and ends up ranked somehow and somehow is still above UNLV and all these other schools and they get in. The other path is that I think is it the Big 12 or is it I can't remember which conference it is. Most of their teams all have 2 losses. Like I don't think they have any undefeated teams. They're all like not super high ranked. They're like, teens to late 20s. Is there a possibility that another Group of top 5 team is able to jump them and then end up in the college football playoff? I think there's potential there, but I think it's a long shot. I don't know if the committee is going to go that far to allow that.
Here's the thing. 1 through 10 all have 1 or less loss, and there's a handful of undefeated teams in there. Indiana at 8, kind of crazy. 9-0 have just beat the shit out of everybody they've played. Excuse my language, but it is what it is. Indiana kind of disrespected. The question becomes, so Bama's at 11 at 6-2, then Boise, and then you have SMU who's 8-1, but ACC now. Then you have 3 2-loss SEC teams. Would they put a 3-loss SEC team in over a 2-loss AAC champion?
Probably. And I think the reason is right now it's like the rankings are working against you. If this initial run of rankings would have come out and Tulane would have been ranked, that's why I really called that out. I think it's a lot easier to slowly work your way up. But right now, I don't see a path. Like you're not even in the conversation at the moment.
Right. The other path, which is the more like conventional way that we've kind of been talking about, they would need a lot of help for sure. Army's at 25. I'm not even worried about the AP anymore because it almost doesn't matter at this point. It's all about the college football playoff rankings. Army's at 25. You still have them on the schedule. They still have to play Notre Dame. That may even be this week. I'm not sure. It's soon if it's not this week. If Army loses, they go down to 1 loss, and then you play Army in the AAC championship. That's your path over Army. Sure. That can work itself out. From there, it's Boise, UNLV, and there was one more we were talking about the other day, me, you, and Patrick. I'm blanking on who it was. There's like 3 1-loss teams in the Mountain West, and those are Boise is the competition. Like I think you can get in over UNLV, and whoever the other team was. I'm still blanking, but you can get in whoever that third team was. It's Boise. If Boise loses and you're both 6-2. Or whatever into, it gets interesting. It definitely gets interesting. Boise has to lose the Mountain West, I think, in order for them to get in. Yeah. And even if they lose, if they lose the Mountain West to UNLV, it's tough.
And jump Tulane. That's the question. That's the other thing I'm concerned about, right? It's important. The time they say timing matters, like the timing of your losses matters, right? So absolutely. I think that obviously Boise losing will probably kick them out, but then who goes in, like we're talking about, right? Like hopefully, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I think Tulane is going to need to get ranked before UNLV, and then it looks better. But if UNLV somehow hops Tulane in these rankings and they get ranked before Tulane, because I think both of them end up ranked, to be clear. Like I think some of these teams are going to drop out, and Tulane and UNLV are going to keep winning.
If Army has to lose to Notre Dame for Tulane to like, I know we're worried about, like, we want Tulane to have a ranked opponent, But I think in order for Tulane to be ranked, I think they almost just have to be like, I don't see them ranking Army and Tulane. It's just, I don't know. I don't see them wanting to rank two AAC teams.
They've done it before. They're not opposed to it. I'm not worried about that too much. I just think with Army being 24 or whatever it is right now, if they lose, I mean,
they're 25 at 8-0. That's what makes it hard for Tulane. The best team in your conference is undefeated and barely made it. So like I think
if they beat Notre Dame, it's almost going to be impossible, right? Like beating such a sort of big program, and you're on this sort of historic run for that university, that college, Army. Sort of like, at least in my lifetime, I haven't seen Army this good. And if they was to beat, and do they play at Notre Dame or at Army?
I can find out, but I'm not.
Because if they was to go at Notre Dame, beat Notre Dame, then I couldn't see a way that Tulane comes out of this.
They would have to be. They're going to get Army in the AAC championship. Like that's almost a guarantee at this point. I think.
You think
if Tulane handles their business and gets there, it's in Notre Dame.
Yeah. See, that's like being on an away game. You're the underdog. Well, some people might not think they're the underdog.
Yeah.
But I mean, to me, they're probably the underdog still, just off of Notre Dame's their foundation. But I think that'll be a tough thing for Tulane to handle.
Patty's right that Tulane has to be ranked by the last week of the season. You have to be going into the conference championship. You have to be ranked because if you're not ranked, even if you beat undefeated Army, if they upset Notre Dame and you beat undefeated Army in the AAC championship, there's a chance that they're just like, all right, well, the AAC team is not getting in, right? Like they would almost not put anybody in rather than put Tulane in over Army, if that makes any sense. It almost feels more likely now that there's two group of 5 teams just because Boise is so good rather than Tulane having a path.
Right. And I'd also say, like, wouldn't you think that for like viewership purposes, and I know it might not be about this.
I know exactly what you were going to say.
You're going to want Ashton Jenney in there, right? Like you're going to want to see him standing up before the play starts and like going to work.
Yeah, no, I was going to say the same thing. I think if it's somehow like what between Tulane and Boise, and listen, Tulane has players, right? Like Mekhi Hughes he doesn't have those electric plays, like Ashton Jenney, but Mekhi Hughes is a baller, right? So, but like, if it comes down to it, I think it matters because I know, this isn't a Miami thing, but I think that's part of that kind of plays into Miami the same way. If Miami gets to the ACC championship undefeated against SMU or Clemson and loses, they're going to want Cam Ward in, right? So they're going to stay in the playoff even if they lose the ACC championship. Like there's something to wanting those names in. Like if there was a way if they could find a way to get Colorado in there, I'm sure they would do it. So I don't know. We might sound, there's probably people that think we sound ridiculous saying that, but I do think that plays a part in it sometimes. Like it's not the end all be all, but when you're in those like nitpicking, you can't tell me it doesn't matter.
There's always biases, whether they acknowledge them or not. There are always biases.
That money matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have any other thoughts on that. I'm interested to see how these next few weeks play out. I think it's going to be very important. Like I said, not even to get ranked before the last week of the season. Like they got to be ranked like next week.
Yeah.
Like you got to go dominate Temple and find your way in the top 25.
That's the problem. Do they have anybody? Well, you got Memphis and Navy, so you have a chance, right? The Temple win, I don't think does anything for them, even if they win by a ton.
No.
If you come in and you beat Navy convincingly, you have a chance. I know Navy lost to Notre Dame, but Navy's a good football team. If you can beat Navy convincingly, like you've been doing other teams, that's your chance. If they don't rank you, then I don't know. Like I don't know when it happens.
Yeah, fair. Cool. Well, with that, I know it's a little bit short of a pod tonight. Well, a couple other things, just talking about that Temple game. We don't have to go down the rabbit hole. I think we all kind of feel the same way. Like, you expect to beat them, right? If you don't beat them, then this time next week we're having a whole different conversation. This college football playoff stuff doesn't matter. It barely matters now. But then you're starting to question whether or not you're even in the AAC championship, which would be really unexpected. So yeah, I mean, I think that I was looking at Temple just to give a little background. The first thing that popped up when I Googled them was that in the offseason, most of their fans were calling to just disband the program. So, like, probably not a school or a team you're expecting to lose to. But I know if Coach Sumrall heard me saying that, he would call me out and definitely would want us to take them seriously. So, still got to come to play. I think that they're one of the worst turnover differential teams. That was one thing I saw in investigating. I think they're like a -11 on the season. Tulane on the flip side, I don't know what their numbers are, but they're very good at protecting the ball and forcing turnovers. Miles alluded to it earlier. To the actual stat, I know you said something about like eight times they scored off of turnovers. It was actually 8 touchdowns scored either on defense or special teams. So their defense and special teams combined has scored 8 touchdowns. So that's always helping out as well. So, I'm expecting to see a lot of turnover chains. See what happens. Turnover beads. My fault. I'm from New Orleans. I should be better. But yeah, any thoughts on the game? Feel free to share them.
We made a joke at the end of the last game where we could pretty much just keep our player of the game graphic the exact same with Makai's name and number on it and just change the stats every week. And I'm going to just stick with that because I think they have finally come around to, hey, we're just going to give this dude 25 carries a game and let him go to work. Maybe it doesn't show up in the first quarter, even 2 quarters. Sometimes it does. But by the 3rd and 4th, this dude is going to be popping off runs left and right. And let's get him and the rest of the starters out of there by the end of the 3rd and move on with our day.
Yeah. I want to show some love to the defense, too. The defense has been balling, man. Micah's been, I think, he got 2 pick sixes 2 weeks in a row, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, really killing it. Obviously, Tyler Grubbs is always holding down the fort in the middle. I feel like every game I see him with a huge hit. They tried to take him out of the game.
Hey, shout out T Grubbs.
Yeah. Yeah. Miles is very close with a couple of these guys. I think T Grubbs and was it Remitich?
Yeah, shout out to the Holy Cross boys to men. You know what I'm saying? Remitich pancaking. I saw a thread of him just pancaking guys, going crazy on the defense. And Grubbs is, I can tell you, like, I've known Grubbs since he was like 14, and he was always playing up a level and knocking guys that are older than him out. Like, I've never seen Grubbs not knock people out. So shout out to them for doing a phenomenal job at Tulane.
Always laying the wood.
Yeah. Can I say something about recruiting real quick?
Yeah.
I saw in one of the groups on Facebook, somebody was asking the question, like they were concerned about the number of recruits we have right now. I don't think it's a lot. So they were concerned about the recruiting class and wondering if we were just going to go into the portal. I wanted to say that with the way things are right now, they've changed like the dates for, National Signing Day and with NIL, a lot of the big guys, the really good players commit early on because of their NIL deals, and it's harder to flip them during the season, which you would tend to see more decommitments and commitments, and then your class grows. But those guys don't really flip as often anymore.
Yeah.
And then with National Signing Day coming up, you're going to get, that's where more of your recruits, like the really good players that you're recruiting, most of them hold off until National Signing Day to commit. So you'll get more recruits there. And also this class, because people commit so early now, this class didn't have a chance to see like the proof of concept from Sumrall on the field, if you know what I mean. So the class to watch would be 2026. That'll be the first class that got to see him put a body of work together and how it played out. Got to see that they have a really good quarterback. So that class is probably the class that he will really start to get the commits. I think next year will still be a little more transfer portal, maybe not as much as this year was, but I think you'll still get a good bit of transfer portal players. And then the year after is when you'll start seeing more high school players commit, and still, of course, the mix of transfer portal guys.
Right.
But I was going to type that out in the comments. And I was like, that's a lot to say. So I saved it for this.
Yeah. Well, and looking, I mean, that's a great point. But even looking at the commits that they have, like they have some solid commits, like no 4 or 5 star guys, but a ton of solid 3 stars, local guys from Edna Card, Rustin, just scrolling through St. Aug. You got Baptiste, a couple names I recognize on here, and it's not for like lack of trying, right? I think every game I've been to on the sidelines, there is constantly just a barrage of recruits down there to start the game off. Like they've got guys coming in. We'll see. I think you make a good point with the proof of concept not quite being there, but I've seen some good things from these. I trust the guys out there recruiting.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. They weren't necessarily questioning the talent level of the ones we had recruit. It was more so like we have a small number of recruits compared to other people. And they brought up the point that you have a ton of people leaving next year or this year, however you want to say that. And it was more so like a numbers question. And I just wanted to touch on that.
Yeah. Good news is the team's relatively deep and young.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of young guys on this team.
Yeah. So we'll see. That's all I got for now. I'll be honest. We'll keep this one short. We're rolling into homecoming week. We're doing a giveaway. If you guys haven't seen it, we're partnering with Red Shirt Limited. They've got some real fire hats. It's my game day hat that you've seen me wear pretty much every game day. I get questions on it every single week and like multiple. So if you have seen me, ask me about it, you have an opportunity to win it. All you have to do is follow us on Twitter, follow Red Shirt Limited on Twitter, and retweet the thing. Maybe tag some friends for some extra, entrances, whatever. I can't word well.
Words are hard.
Yeah, words are hard. I need an adult. That's all I got though. Do we want to finish with some lagniappe? Some lagniappe?
Sure.
Maybe. All right. So Miles, you haven't been on here yet. Basically what we do, I know you've been on that Saints pod and we always pick a touchdown, blah, blah, blah. That's not what we do here. Here, we just pick lagniappe. Basically, if you've watched, what's the best way to say this? Back in the day, if you watched like Around the Horn and the winner got like 15 seconds to just talk about whatever the hell they wanted to talk about, that's what this is. So literally, it doesn't even have to be Tulane related. It doesn't even have to be sports related. You can talk about whatever the heck you want to talk about. Try not to go too long. I've talked to you before. But yeah, that's it. If you want to start, you can. If you need a second, I have no idea what I'm going to say, but I'll jump in and say something. I have to.
Yeah, I definitely need a second. I'll wait.
Okay. Sweet. I think for me, I don't know, man. My life is such a crazy time right now. I think more people need more accountability. I'm not pointing fingers. I don't know why I even brought that up. There's a few things that just flashed in my head, and I want to talk about this. So many people avoid accountability these days and try to have life be just so easy. I don't know if it starts with the way we parent our children. I don't know if it's that we have too many hype men in our life and we just avoid the people that give us the harsh news. But I think more people need to be willing to have open discourse, discuss things with people, and understand that you are not always right. That includes me. Listen, I'm one of the worst culprits. And I think that that's something that we all need to do better at. So just going to throw that out there. And yeah, moving on.
You got one, though?
I don't know. I'm not gonna. I don't know. There's a lot of things I could talk about. I guess that I'm not gonna.
That's fair. A lot of wild things have happened this week. So
yeah. So I'm gonna do what I tend to do often because I have no other place to talk about this. Shout out to my Miami Hurricanes. I honestly I don't know what seed they are because I was very confused at how all this works. It's like they're fourth, but like a third seed. I don't know. I'm very confused. So shout out to them. I still think they're going to lose every single week because I haven't had a good team in 20 years. And I'll believe they're really, really good when the season ends. But other than that, Cam Ward for Heisman and future Saints quarterback. That'll be all for me.
Okay, I'm gonna do a little message to all the new recruits going to college, or anybody going to college for the first time. I'm a college student, about to be a junior. I was in school for 2 years and took off once COVID hit. Went into the workforce, was in there for 2 years, and now I'm back in school trying to get my degree and better. my higher education. I would just say this to young men and women or whatever you want to call yourself that are going into school. Figure out how you're going to organize your life, balance your life, and love your life. Because if you don't do that, you are going to crumble. Things happen in life, you know what I'm saying, that could definitely break you down. But it's easier to maneuver through bullshit. Excuse my language. But it is easier to maneuver and elude the BS when you're organized, when you can point out a problem. But if everything is a mess, everything seems like a problem. So it is important to know who you love who you hate, and just do better and be accountable. That's my message to college students, because let me tell you, the semester's harsh. Not all teachers and professors are good people, and life hits and natural disasters and all these type of things happen. But if you're organized and you got your shit together, it's a little easier to get to the next step. So yeah, but keep your head up.
Keeping your head up.
What a message.
Cool. That was great. I was going to say bars. I feel like it didn't fit anymore. When I was at the point where I should have said it, and I just missed my.
That's like the first non-sports thing I've ever heard Miles say, and I appreciate it.
Yeah,
it's been a long time since I've been in college, but I 100% relate to that.
Yeah, it's real in the field, man.
Listen, that's not just a college thing either. What he just said. That is a for the rest of your life thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. All right. Appreciate you guys. That is the end of Wave Watch. We'll see y'all next week. Maybe. I don't know. Who knows? No, we will. Until next time, you know how we do this thing? We roll wave.